virtual reality was something I played around with, and I thought this is a great tool to incorporate into the creative process for set design. But some of the projects that I loved working on was creating art installations. So 360 music video experiences that I've done. I've also worked as a technical director on a VR project that we've toured across our province here in Canada, and then keeping up with trends or technology. Everything's changing. I mean, every time I open my design software, there's always something of, oh, this is a new tool, this is a new thing, this is a new update. My industry changes, people are using different things all the time. If you don't have the skills for something, just get the skills, learn it. And having the right people in your circle, and I think I mentioned this earlier, I'm pretty grateful and lucky that I have my husband, who's my biggest supporter.
Hi everyone, my name is Tanya Boyson and welcome to the Come Up series. I'm here with my lovely co-host, Luandra Jacobs, and our guest today is award-winning set designer, artist, creative director, and she's a South African creative director. And she's now residing in Canada, Kimira Reddy.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Welcome. Look at you, Kimira. Doing amazing things over there. So I'm going to go and jump in straight in with our first question. So firstly, how did you find the transition of moving from South Africa to Canada? And also the second part of that question, what do you miss the most about South Africa?
I miss home. I think the challenging part about moving to Canada is that it's new, it's different, and you sort of get out of your comfort zone. But I think that's where I grew the most, and I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever done. I was fortunate to move with my husband Sachin, so he knew Vancouver and was familiar with everything here, so that made it a bit easier. Although I think the one thing I miss the most would be family, especially my nieces and nephews, and missing out on those special moments because they grow up so fast. And yeah, I think missing family. Everyone's good food. They don't get the same kind of spices here and things. But yeah, missing family. And South Africa is such a beautiful place. I travel a lot, and everywhere I go, I'm always like, South Africa is such a special place. It's always going to be a special place in my heart. And yeah.
How often do you guys come back home to visit?
Let's see, I think I was doing it. I've been here about 8 years now, so it's going back every year. Okay. But now it's like every second year or so.
Okay. Yeah. Not too bad.
Yeah, that's bad. At least you come back.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it's okay. Yeah, with technology now, it's like you can keep in touch, and yeah.
Not indeed.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. So, what inspired you to take the creative path, and when did your journey start as a creative director?
So I think growing up, I've always been pretty creative. Like I was into arts and craft, and I still love dancing. I did a lot of Indian dancing when I was a kid, and did Indian classical dancing. I started playing the violin when I was 10. I still do it now. I play for the Sunshine Coast Orchestra, and I've been keeping up with my classical dance. I do Kathak. So there's always been this creativity running in my blood. And I think after I finished high school, I thought that I needed to nurture that creativity. And so that's when I started getting into it and learning more about different types of art and skills that's focused on prop making and scenic painting. And I think my journey as a creative director probably started a few years ago, because I work with so many different clients and on so many different projects, and they're all so different. And clients come to me, or they have these projects, and I have to bring their ideas and their visions to life. And I think that's the part that I love the most. And yeah, so that's what I do.
I like it, hey, it's like you really embedded into this whole creative space, because even your hobbies and dancing and everything is requires this form of creativity. So it's like your life is embedded into this whole.
Yeah. And I think something that's very important for me is that I've always wanted to do something that I love. I talk to so many people who don't enjoy their jobs, who hate their jobs, and that wasn't for me. I always just wanted to do something I love, and I can say that I love what I do. I really do.
Such a privilege.
So basically, it's not work for you. It's just something you enjoy. It's service that you enjoy.
Yeah.
So, what are the key responsibilities of a creative director?
I think this is I think every creative director will have a different answer, but for me, I think it's being a good leader. and obviously that takes time. Knowing your team, the people you're working with, is very important, and knowing how to work with everyone. And the communication comes into play in that aspect. So I work with a variety of different people on different projects. So, for example, if I have to create a set design for a space, I have a team that will take my technical drawings and build it. There's a different way I have to talk to them versus like talking to the director. It's important to know who your director is and know what the project's about. There's a lot of research and understanding and creating that vision for them. That can be challenging, but there's so many tools that I use to like make that process easier. Everyone's different, everyone communicates different, and I think one of the things for me is having good communication and understanding fully what each project's about and what each client needs. Being resourceful. Sometimes you can't always find the answers. So, for example, if you're working on projects where you're working with different religions, I always bring in a cultural consultant because I want things to be done properly, correctly. And then I guess another thing is being a good problem solver. You can plan as much as you can, but then you always get to the final product and there's something that'll come up that you didn't think about. So I think it's important to know how to solve that and thinking on your feet in that moment. There's a lot of budgets and money and things that go into these projects, so it's important to keep that in mind. And yeah, learning how to work with budgets over time. You start with smaller budgets and you grow and create bigger projects in that way. So yeah, I think it's planning, good communication, being a good leader, teamwork, being resourceful, and knowing your budgets. Yeah.
Thank you for breaking it so nicely with us.
I guess also being creative. I forgot about that part. Have fun and be creative.
But at least you gave us the logistics.
Yeah, I forgot about the creative part about it. I guess be creative. Have fun with it.
And on that, being creative, you actually have virtual reality incorporated in your work as well. So you use virtual reality as a concept tool for design. How does it work, and how does the process assist your clients?
Okay, so a little bit of a backstory here. So during my master's degree that I did here in Vancouver, part of that degree was to design a set for theater and for stage. And what I realized was virtual reality was something I played around with, and I thought this is a great tool to incorporate into the creative process for set design. So what happens when you create a set design is you come up with the idea and then you build like a little scale model. It's like a scaled down model of what the final product's going to be, or you do like a 3D model that you're seeing on a flat screen. And for me, there was just this like disconnect because it's like, okay, I'm seeing it there, it's flat, or I'm seeing it here and it's tiny, but I'm never actually seeing it in real life. And I think when I incorporated VR, it was like amazing because I could take my models, the same process that I'm using, and I'm just putting it into this VR space, and I'm able to walk around in it, move things around, change things, sit in different places in the theater, and experience it as if it's in its final state. And that gave us the freedom to be like, you know what, cut that, move that color, don't think it works with the costumes or the paint treatment for the floor. And I've used it in different things like the art installations or different projects that I've worked on. But I think seeing like its pre-visualization of what your product, the final product is ahead of time, it saves money, resources, time. You get closer to the final product and design, meaning you have a lot more time for iterations. And it's such a good collaborative tool. And I could be sitting here and someone could be in a different country. I could show you in a different country what a piece of art looks like. We can be working in the same space. We don't even need to be in the same room, really. So yeah, that's how I got into using VR as a tool, and that's how I've incorporated it into my process. That's what my thesis research was when I was doing my master's, and yeah, I think it's a very powerful tool.
What challenges do you face during a project? Because this sounds so cool, and it sounds like you get to save a lot of time, like turnaround time when you have to create a project. So is there any challenges involved? Like, what are they?
Challenges involved, I think it would be that some people aren't used to using VR. So that can be a bit challenging for some people. But it's always nice when you just put the headset on their head and then they're just blown away. So it's always hard to get people to adopt that technology into their workflow as well. But with the work, I think there's always things that come up. Budgets are always a thing. Prices of wood, for example, you always have to keep up with how much things cost. resources. Safety is an important thing. That's always like my number one thing. I work with a lot of kids, and so I need to know heights, weights, movements on different pieces. How are things hung? There's a lot of standards here in Canada of how you build things or put things in certain places. Do you need a license for something? Do you need insurance? Do you need liability? There's a lot of logistics that go on, but there's always people that you can have on your team that'll take care of that. And I think it's important for me, especially. I always must have a good technical director who oversees all of that for me. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So who or what inspired you to incorporate VR in your work?
So I think it was about maybe 7 or 8 years ago when we were living in Vancouver. I went for like a conference where people were experimenting with different ways of using VR in their work. And I think the one thing that I found really exciting to use was Google Tilt Brush, where you get into the space and then you can paint in this 3D world. And I just like got lost for for hours just being in there. I forgot about the world and just painting in this 3D world, which I thought was amazing. And for me, that's when I thought, you know what, this is a great tool to just get your ideas, which is in your head, out in a very quick way. So I started playing around with it. I spoke to my mentors at university, and I wanted to do this research, and so they supported me. I had scholarships and funding to just get all the equipment to play around in VR, and I would take 3D models of theaters, get into Google Tilt Brush, and start coming up with these worlds. And it was so quick, it was so fun. And then that's how I developed a process for how I could use VR into my set design process. And even now, there's like so many things where if I can't figure out something, I'll jump into VR and just start painting because it's what I love to do, and you get to do it in this digital world. So that was where I think the spark that took off from there. Yeah.
Wow, sounds amazing. You're really enjoying the work.
I do. And I think I think the one thing I liked about it was this blend of art and technology. It's it's fun. I enjoy it a lot.
Have you always been
Nice.
a child growing up? Sorry.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I like painting. I like doing art. I think I mentioned this some time ago, but I failed art in school, so there was that. But I think it's important to know. It's important to have good people in your circle who can nurture you and bring you up. So that was a life lesson there.
Very true. And you can actually achieve anything. Like failure is just a lesson.
Yep.
Like look at now, you're award-winning director. So yeah, it's possible. Yep. And what other work do you do as a creative director?
Okay, I'll talk about a few of them because there's quite a lot. But some of the projects that I loved working on was creating art installations. So I just did an art installation recently called Drift, which was a piece done for a festival that happened here in Vancouver. It was the Indian Summer Festival, and I had to create a space for people to just come in and explore like anything I created, which was the fun parts. They were like, here's a space, Kim, create whatever you wanted. So this is the second time I'm designing for the space. And I created this space where I tried to bring in, I brought in my culture, my heritage, and just memories of like growing up and walking on the beach in Durban and then walking on the beach here. Things that really caught my eye was driftwood. And thinking about my life, my story, my journey, and navigating through that, I was thinking about other people and how Vancouver is such a diverse city. There's so many people from so many places, and the space that I was creating it in, it's called Granville Island. It brings in so many different people from all over the world. It's a tourist attraction. So I knew who my audience was, and I wanted to create a space for people to come into the space, experience a little bit about me and my culture, my history, but also reflect on their own personal journeys. And so I think we had the space up for about a week, and it saw about 12,000 people. It was such a beautiful space. We had like lots of instruments around that you could play. The kids loved it. I had people come in, write a wish, tie it on different pieces of fabrics and ribbons. Everything you touched had a sound. Everything had like an Indian texture. There was like incense. It was beautiful, like Indian oriental carpets on the floor. It was just such a beautiful space to just take a moment to step away from the world. I had a book where people wrote messages, and one of the things that people wrote was, it was like an oasis, because it was a healing space. There was a lot of people who cried in the space, who shared a lot of their personal journeys or where they are in the world. There was kids that took it very seriously. There was a lot of kids that wanted baby brothers and baby sisters or a puppy or something. Um, so it was a fun, beautiful, wonderful space, and I think that's something I want to do more of. Is more installations that just aim at pure human connection. That's like my ultimate goal. Yeah, that's one of the projects. There's been projects where I work with a company that does these workshops for kids and parents, and so I've created like these fun props for them that they use in their workshops, specifically for babies. So thinking about babies' hands, touch, how big the prop is, and what we're using it for. We also did a forest walk where I created props for hiding spots in the forest, and the kids need to find it, and they had sound designs. So there's all of these different fun things that you do. And then there's like 360 music video experiences that I've done. I've also worked as a technical director on a VR project that we've toured across our province here in Canada. And then last year I got to go to Taiwan and train a team over in Kaohsiung on setting this film up and showcasing it there. So those are just a few of the cool projects that I do. And then I guess there's also the set design that happens as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Amazing work.
Man, you're like I especially enjoyed the part where you said you got the opportunity to create like a small set where you got to showcase your culture, your heritage. Oh, it just made me excited. So tell me, where do you go, or what do you do when you are going through a creative block?
Yeah, so creative blocks are pretty common for me, but I'm fortunate that I live on the Sunshine Coast. So this is it's not little, it's a beautiful town that's connected to the mainland in Vancouver, but it's a 40-minute ferry from Vancouver. So it's almost like island life, but away from the city. And it's like nestled in the forest and close to the beach. And it honestly reminds me a lot of home. The beach is always there for me to take walks. We're surrounded by so many trails, so I can take a walk, just immerse myself in trees and nature and that smell, and just take a break from the digital work that I do. That helps. That helps a lot, and I think that's very important. That supports my work. Having that break, having something that you can like touch, see, feel, using the other senses is helpful. So yeah, creative blocks. I think being in nature, close to the water, just walks on the beach, walks in the trails. We also have a lot of animals. There's bears in our backyard. There's deer. There's apparently the other day there was a grizzly around. There's a lot of birds. I love watching birds, so I've created a little bird garden that I just love to sit and watch them. So those little moments, and then I guess yeah, practicing violin for the orchestra or doing my Kathak dance. I do at least one dance a year, so having that as an outlet is helpful as well.
So do you dance like weekly?
Yes.
Okay.
I have rehearsals every week, and then around May, I do a performance, and then same with the violin, rehearse every week, and then I think there's like 3 concerts a year. Yeah, good
I'm sorry,
performances
Tanya,
that we do.
I'm so curious to know what this lady's daily schedule is like. Like what? Or you can just tell me your week, like in a
Yeah, so I can tell you that yeah, it's pretty busy. I think I'll say that I'm not the candidate, the type of person that says, oh, I have a balanced day. I usually like chunk it out. So I know that in the summer times here, things are a bit more relaxed, or I do less projects, but more focused on like what I want to do. And then when it comes to the winter time, that's when theater season's open, when people come back from their vacations, that's when the work happens. When it's summertime here, everyone's spending time with their families. So I always like to use that time to work on myself and projects that I enjoy the most. But day to day, I can tell you in the summertime, I'm up early and I'm doing a walk. There's a walking group here that I join, and we do a walk at 7 a.m. all the way down to the marina, take a look at the water, and that just wakes me up. I'll have to drag myself out of bed, but as soon as I get there and I see the mountains, the water, I'm awake, I'm ready for anything. And that just sets me up for the day. And then coming back, I work remotely. So most of my work is done from home. And then if I do have meetings or I need to go into town, I hop on the ferry, which is close by. It's about a 40-minute ferry to Vancouver. And it's a beautiful ferry. So I get to work on there as well. do my meetings, and then come back. And then, yeah, just taking time to schedule out what projects I'm working on. I have to use an AI calendar to schedule out my days. It's like a producer for me, because there's so many different projects, there's so many deadlines, there's many different types of meetings that I need to be in, either in person or online or doing presentations. So I usually get to the week on a Monday, plan everything out, and then every morning just checking my schedule, making sure I'm not missing deadlines. And yeah, it's a bit of a it takes time to get into that flow, and I think it's helpful knowing who you're working with and how they work. So that's been easier for me as well.
Okay. Then work, like, do you have a cut-off time? What time do you start? What time do you finish?
I usually start at 10 and then force myself to finish at 5. But because I work in theater, there's days where you have 10-hour days for 3 days or so. That's what happens when you're like putting on a show. Or if I'm putting up a art installation, or if there's an exhibition design, a big show, then you're working late. So I'll stay in town, or if I need to travel somewhere, I'll stay. But you have rehearsals, you have shows that you've got to be attending at night. So you usually try and schedule a day where you're taking time in the day to rest or not work as much, and then in the evenings you're sorting out the show. So it's just like, yeah, I think understanding what's needed from you and how you can balance it based on what you're working on, what's your schedule. Yeah.
Okay, so somewhere there in your schedule, then I'm sorry, I'm a bit nosy. But somewhere in your
That's like,
schedule, you schedule your dancing in and then your violin practice.
yeah, so at least that's my dancing is every Sunday, so it's a weekend, Sunday mornings. And then my violin lessons, they used to be on Fridays, but now I'm grateful they're on Thursday nights. So that's, yeah, it's great for me. It's just in the evenings, it's after work, so that works out for me perfectly.
Very interesting.
Sounds hectic, but it sounds nicely balanced out as well. Like it's a
Yeah.
nice balance what you're doing. Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, yeah, there are some days where it can get a bit much, but it's important to recognize those moments and then put into place like things that could help. Something that helps me is meal prepping. Subscribe to a service when I have my busy times that I have to get meals delivered. It's just helpful for me. It saves me time. It's healthy meals, because there's some moments where, you know, you're working so much, you go over your lunch breaks and then you just eat something that's junk and you're not looking after yourself. So I think it's helpful to have that balance of eating properly, making sure you're drinking water and getting enough movement, exercise, and all of that. And sometimes you get lost in like working too much. So I think it's important to recognize that. And I mentioned that I'm using a AI calendar, and that calendar is very strict, and I follow it diligently, where it'll scream at me if I miss my lunch break, or, you know, if I miss something. So it's, yeah, a bit of discipline, but it takes time. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Nice. And do you have any advice for people that would like to get into the creative space and become a creative director as a career path?
As a career path, I think firstly, believing in yourself and being passionate about it. And if you are creative, if you're passionate, if you're driven, that's like the foundation for any creative path. I think failing in the beginning is also important, so that you can learn from those mistakes. That's the most important part, because then you grow the most. You learn, you experiment, you try something new or different. Keeping up with trends or technology, everything's changing. I mean, every time I open my design software, there's always something of, oh, this is a new tool, this is a new thing, this is a new update. My industry changes, people are using different things all the time. I think continuing to learn. There's been times where I'm working on projects and I don't know enough. So taking the time to research and be resourceful is important. And then having the right people in your circle. I think I mentioned this earlier. I'm pretty grateful and lucky that I have my husband, who's my like biggest supporter, team player, and just a solid partner. And we support each other on everything. And having good mentors, having good family support, that WhatsApp group with the 3 friends that are so weird and great, I think is important. And I think if you don't have the skills for something, just get the skills, learn it, and don't rush. When I applied to do my master's, I knew that I didn't have 3D modeling, and I took like 6 months to just do like a boot camp course on 3D modeling, completely free, just on YouTube, and it helped so much. I still go back to them, still use it, and just continuing to learn. I still do courses. I have a coach. I have people that are supporting me, who help me. There's always growth. There's always room to grow. So I think if you're starting out, believe in yourself. There will be people that will tell you no, that will discourage you. You gotta have a good filter. And if you believe in yourself, if you're confident that this is what you want to do, I think just go for it. Yeah. It takes time.
Mira, your story is so interesting to me. Thank you so much for
You're
sharing
welcome.
your story with us today, and it's so inspiring. Tanya, do you have any final words?
Just thank you so much for being on our show, and I've learned a lot. Like it's amazing what you do, and all the best for your next project.
Thank you so much. And you both have to come visit at some point, please.
I want to. I'm so in virtual reality now. Like, yeah, I'm so interested in virtual reality. I want to go and dive deep into it.
Well, me too. Happy to help you answer any questions on VR or whatever you're interested in.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for having me as well. Yeah.
We can still find you if I want to connect with you.
You can Google me. I think that's the first one. You can find my website, KimiraReddy.com, or follow me at Kimira_Reddy.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like, leave a comment down below, and yes guys, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.